Think like the 1%, live like the 1%. There comes a moment in every life when the mirror tells the truth. Not the truth about your face, not the truth about your age, not the truth about what the world sees when it looks at you, but the truth about what you have become. A truth so powerful, so undeniable, that for a split second, every excuse falls silent. Every blame disappears. Every reason you've given yourself for staying where you are suddenly loses its power, because deep down, beneath the noise of society, beneath the expectations of others, beneath the endless distractions that consume modern life, there is a question waiting for you, a question that determines everything. Will you continue to think like the masses, or will you learn to think like the few? The distance between ordinary and extraordinary is not measured in miles. It is measured in mindset. The wealthiest people in history understood something that most people never discover. The greatest leaders, inventors, creators, visionaries, and builders all shared a secret that had nothing to do with money, luck, education, or circumstance. They saw the world differently. While others saw obstacles, they saw opportunities. While others saw impossibility, they saw potential. While others focused on what they lacked, they focused on what they could create. And that difference changed everything. Most people spend their lives reacting. The 1% spend their lives creating. Most people wake up and immediately surrender control of their minds. They open their phones. They absorb other people's opinions. They consume other people's fears. They inherit other people's limitations. Before they have even started the day, they have already allowed the world to tell them who they are. The 1% does the opposite. Before the world speaks, they speak to themselves. Before doubt arrives, they strengthen belief. Before fear enters the room, they establish purpose, because they understand a principle so powerful that it can transform an entire life. Your external world will never rise higher than your internal world. The empire is built in the mind before it appears in reality. Every skyscraper existed first as a thought. Every invention existed first as an idea. Every fortune existed first as a vision. Every revolution began inside a single human mind. Look at Thomas Edison. Thousands of failures, thousands of disappointments, thousands of reasons to quit. But Edison was not controlled by circumstances. He was controlled by vision. The average person sees failure and concludes that success is impossible. The 1% sees failure and concludes that success is getting closer. The same event, a completely different interpretation. And interpretation creates destiny. The world has convinced millions of people that their circumstances define them, that their background determines their future, that their limitations are permanent, that their dreams are unrealistic. But history laughs at that belief. History remembers Abraham Lincoln, who lost repeatedly before leading a nation. History remembers Henry Ford, who faced ridicule before transforming transportation. History remembers Walt Disney, who was told he lacked imagination before building an empire of imagination. Every giant was doubted. Every visionary was questioned. Every creator was misunderstood. And every one of them reached a moment where they had to make a decision. Believe the crowd or believe the vision. That decision separates the 1% from everyone else, because the crowd worships evidence. The 1% creates it. The crowd waits until success appears before believing. The 1% believes before success appears. And that is where transformation begins, not in your bank account, not in your environment, not in your possessions, but in your identity, because you will never consistently outperform the image you hold of yourself. You may work harder, you may try harder, you may force temporary results, but eventually your life returns to the level of your self-image. The mind is always seeking consistency. If you secretly believe you are average, you will unconsciously create average outcomes. If you secretly believe you are incapable, you will unconsciously sabotage opportunity. If you secretly believe greatness belongs to others, you will spend your life watching others achieve it. But the moment you begin to see yourself differently, everything starts to change. The moment you begin to think like the 1%, your actions change, your standards change, your habits change, your expectations change, and eventually your results change. Because success is not something you pursue. Success is something you become. The oak tree is hidden inside the acorn. The masterpiece is hidden inside the blank canvas. The future is hidden inside today's decisions. And the extraordinary life you dream about is hidden inside the person you choose to become from this moment forward. The 1% understands something that escapes most people for their entire lives. They understand that time is not money. Time is far more valuable than money. Money can be lost and earned again. Fortunes can disappear and be rebuilt. Businesses can fail and be recreated. But a single hour that passes is gone forever. A day wasted today can never be recovered tomorrow. And that realization changes the way they live. While the world is obsessed with comfort, the 1% is obsessed with growth. While the world asks, how can I make this easier? They ask, how can I become stronger? Because they know that comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing grows there. The seed does not become a tree while remaining comfortable. The eagle does not learn to fly while remaining in the nest. The diamond is not formed without pressure. Nature itself teaches the lesson that success requires transformation. And transformation requires discomfort. Look around. Most people are negotiating with their potential every day. They negotiate with their alarm clock. They negotiate with their goals. They negotiate with discipline. They negotiate with excellence. 5 more minutes. Tomorrow instead of today. Next week instead of now. 1 more excuse. 1 more delay. 1 more reason why this is not the perfect time. And year after year, those small negotiations become enormous regrets. The 1% refuses to negotiate with their future. They understand that every decision casts a vote. Every action is a vote for the person they are becoming. Every habit is a vote. Every thought is a vote. Every sacrifice is a vote. Every disciplined action is a vote. You are constantly creating your future, whether you realize it or not. The question is simple. What are you voting for? Because success is rarely one dramatic moment. It is usually a collection of invisible decisions. The decision to wake up early. The decision to learn when others are entertaining themselves. The decision to stay focused when distractions are everywhere. The decision to keep moving when motivation disappears. Most people wait for motivation. The 1% depends on discipline. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline remains. Motivation is weather. Discipline is climate. And when you build discipline, you stop depending on feelings. You stop asking yourself whether you feel like taking action. You simply act. That is why extraordinary people appear unstoppable. It is not because they feel unstoppable. It is because they have trained themselves to move regardless of how they feel. When people study success, they often focus on the visible reward. The wealth, the influence, the recognition, the achievements, but they rarely study the invisible foundation beneath those rewards. The lonely mornings, the difficult decisions, the sacrifices nobody applauded, the hours spent improving when nobody was watching. The 1% understands that greatness is built in private before it is displayed in public. The world sees the harvest. It never sees all the seasons of planting. It sees the trophy. It never sees the years of preparation. It sees the victory speech. It never sees the countless moments when quitting seemed easier. That is why many people envy success, while refusing to embrace the process that creates it. They want the destination, but they reject the road. Yet the road is everything, because the road transforms you into the person capable of handling the destination. Imagine receiving every dream you have right now without becoming stronger first, without becoming wiser, without becoming more disciplined, without becoming more resilient. Would you be able to keep it? Most people focus on acquiring success. The 1% focuses on becoming worthy of success. And that distinction changes everything. Andrew Carnegie understood this. Napoleon Hill understood this. The great builders of history understood this. They recognized that wealth is not merely money. Wealth is mindset. Wealth is vision. Wealth is self-control. Wealth is leadership. Wealth is the ability to create value. Without those qualities, money often disappears. With those qualities, money becomes a natural consequence. That is why the 1% invests so heavily in themselves. They read while others scroll. They study while others complain. They develop skills while others seek shortcuts. They sharpen their minds because they understand.